And I've always had, like the travel bug. I just love it. So in a lot of ways, it was very much similar to string sports.
Well,
In that aspect.
yeah, and you think about the dedication because, like you said, with being able, needing to sit down and or stay long enough and practice the same thing over and over until you nailed it. And then, of course, all the bumps and bruises that come along with that learning process. I mean, yeah, that's a good similarity to both of them, and it's a
Yeah.
good similarity to almost anything in life. You stick with it and you don't quit. Eventually, you become proficient enough at it.
Well, and also it really gave you, and this would be like later on down the line, but it really gave you like a do-it-yourself attitude.
Uh-huh.
Like if you wanted something, you had to create it. Same way as like, I think that's kind of what got me into like putting on events and stuff. It's like, man, nobody's going to do it for you. If you want this, you have to go out there and create it. And, same type of thing. You have to have that mindset of, being a fairly creative person. And again, just stick to it. Like, okay, this could be my baby and let's grow it, so very, very similar.
Yeah.
The reason I got out of kind of bouncing around the subject was one day it just became like a job.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't any fun. And, I ended that, and I had a good friend at the time he just started going to gyms, and I said, okay. I said, well, let me do this, and it was fun,
Right.
so 25 plus years later, there you go.
Well, and when you were going through all that, looking back now, do you think you had an understanding of the dedication and why you were doing it and how it would translate later in life, or was it just something you felt that you knew to do instinctively? Because I think a lot of kids today, and I don't mean to pick on them, a lot of kids don't have that instinct. They don't have that mindset that I've got to stick with it for the long haul if I want to be good at it. They think they should be able to get it immediately.
I just knew that, I guess it was just instinctive. I just knew it's like, all right, well, I'm not really overly gifted, but I'm willing to do the work.
Right.
So I knew that was the key, would be the key for me. And at the time, I had no clue, like, how all these lessons I learned through that would transfer over to everything, or, some of the other aspects in life.
Right. Yeah. So when you got involved with the strength aspect of things, how was that? How did that shape up for the most part in the early stages? We know how it shaped up to the current day, but I mean, when you were going through it, you're talking 25 years now.
Yeah, and I always tell everybody, it's like, my biggest regret is, I didn't start. I'm 46 now. I'll be 47 in August,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't start competing until I was 33, and that's my biggest regret. It's not that I didn't train hard or anything during those times. I was just the person who was like, all right, man, I'm going to train to do this meet. And I was the worst kind of person because I was afraid to commit and stuff.
Okay.
And, that was, just fear. And then one day I was like, man, I got to do this. And I talked to a good friend, John Shiflett, who puts on all the powerlifting stuff here in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, man, just, come on up, we'll help you out and stuff. And that was all I really need to hear. And
Right.
then from then on, I was hooked.
Now, do you have a favorite out of the strength sports, or you kind of embraced them all and enjoy them all about equally?
I enjoy them all, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if somebody asked me, what was your best trip? I'd be like, oh, man, the last one I just took.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you'll laugh at this, like my good friend, like Pat and Kareem Rogers.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, this is the best meal ever. They're like, Chad, that's what you said about the last meal. I'm like, that was good too.
Well, you're getting better.
So it's all fun, man.
And that is a true enjoyment, I think, of what it is we do, because I love competing in Highland. I've only done one Highland Games, and I had wanted to do it for a long time. And Indianapolis has always had a good one for the most part for a decade now, and maybe longer. I don't know, but I never signed up for it. I was always afraid in some aspects, and I didn't understand it fully. And it wasn't until when I met Becky and we did the Highland Games in 2017 together that I just loved it. And then I had done powerlifting, and I always enjoyed that. And I didn't compete in my first strongman competition until I was like 40, I think.
Oh wow!
And I was like, because I was always into bodybuilding and things like that, and easier stuff, right? And I did it, and I was just like, this is a blast. I love it, and I'm ready to go out and compete in any competition, powerlifting, strongman, or Highland. I may not do well, but I'm going to go out and enjoy it.
And that's the thing, man. I mean, it should be fun. I always tell people, it's like, man, it's like you see kids, gyms and stuff on, man, it's like, sign up, compete. I was like, you're going to have a good time. It's like, you're going to meet people, you're going to travel.
Yeah.
It's nothing but positives that are going to come out of it.
Yeah, and the, like you said, the people. I've made more friends in the strength community than I probably made in my entire life.
The best community there is, man, hands down.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed being around it and such. So it gives me an idea, perspective, although I will never do it, to a perspective as to why a lot of you guys put on the shows, why you promote them. Is just, it's not only for wanting to provide good competitions, but it's the people,
Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. And the other thing, too, is like, man, at the end of the day, it's nice to see people happy.
Yeah.
It's nice to see, it's very fulfilling to see, hey, man, these people had a good time at this event and stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, it makes all, and until you go into putting on events, and people have no clue how much work goes into it. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But the payout's worth it, man, and that's why, you keep going back. It's like, man, I like seeing people, enjoy themselves, or be like, man, we had such a good time and stuff.
Well,
at that point, you're like, it's worth it.
And I've worked enough of them, behind the scenes, not putting on any, but working enough behind the scenes that it's very more so. It's much more enjoyable for the competitors when the show goes smooth, and you've got people who want to be there and who are doing it because they enjoy it, enjoy being, and so.
That support staff makes things happen, man.
They really do.
From promoter, always take good care of your people, man. That's, you're only as good as your support staff.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple of shows that's been like, ooh, but those are few and far between. So, how long have you been with the Moss Wrestling? Because I have seen it over the years, and I think now it's starting to become a little bit more into the light. As to, A, what it is, and B, how long has it been around, and C, I've heard some people say, what's the point of it? Well, the point is to pull that son of a gun over the...
it's another, outlet to compete in. I mean, if nothing else, it's that. But, this, coming up, we're in January right now, and, coming up on the Arnold here very soon will be 5 years I've been involved in it. That's,
okay.
I met Ode 5 years ago.
Okay.
And, it's, Ode Haugen. And today's actually Ode's birthday.
Is it?
So, shout out to Ode. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ode.
The man inspires the hell out of me. That's all I can say. Yeah, he's just, he's a living legend in the world of strength. Yeah. And, just keeps on kicking ass and just being amazing. I'm like, man, it's like, I really hope I can do anything close to that when I'm his age.
Right, yeah.
But no, 5 years ago, they had on the concourse stage at the Arnold.
Yep.
And I'd seen the videos coming up before then, like Ode and people been posting. I was like, God, that looks like fun, man. And then right there on the concourse stage, for that year, they brought in like all the heavy hitters, like Mark Felix was there.
Uh-huh.
Big Steve Schmidt was there competing.
Okay.
Clay Edge, and it was like a mini like who's who of like the strongman strength world.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God, I want to try this. And then a couple months later, Steve Schmidt and Steve Slater were putting on a contest. And I was like, all right. I was like, I just called up Slater. It's like, hey, man, it's like, do you still have, I live down in Virginia. I'm just going to drive up, like, Friday night. It's like, can you get a spot at the contest? And he's like, by all means. So, we, drove to Ohio, and, I live down in Virginia. So that's about 5.5 hours, 6 hour drive.
Yeah.
But drove up there, competed, had an absolute blast, and just started going back and forth with Ode over the years, working on little things here and there, and competing at the few events I could find.
Yeah.
Usually had to travel out west for it and stuff, but I just liked it and enjoyed it. And then he asked me to start doing stuff, becoming involved with the team, and then it just really took off. We've been literally all over the world within like the past 3 years with the sport.
I was gonna say, it seemed like every time I turn around, you were traveling somewhere.
We've been to Kyrgyzstan, Finland, Canada, Hungary,
Moscow,
Russia twice. I kind of lose track of all the places we've been, but we've been a lot of places, and it's just so much opportunity there. And it goes back to like what we talked about with people. It's so many great people involved in this sport.
Yeah.
It's like you meet all these people from like all over the world, which is and that in itself is the best education you could ever get. For me, it was just different cultures. And one thing I gotta say, no matter where you are in the world, people are all exactly the same, man.
Right.
And kind of getting off subject. I don't find any media type stuff. I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
I don't care to.
Yeah.
But we'll go to these competitions, and you'll have, like Americans, Russians, Pakistanis, Indians. All these, groups are supposed to be not getting along, but yet.
Right.
Magically, everyone gets along. We're just strength athletes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, to me, that's the the greatest joy and beauty of strength sports.
Yeah. I have not had the opportunity to travel outside the U.S. in my entire life. The closest I have ever gotten outside the U.S. was driving and living in Michigan, because that's practically Canada. But I
do love Canada, man.
I would like to go. It's only like a 20-minute drive for me.
Canadians are great, man. Shout out to all my Canadian friends, man. Miss y'all and love y'all.
But but being able to meet the athletes that have come overseas to the U.S. at the Arnold or the Games or wherever.
Yeah, you'll meet everybody, man.
Yeah, it's great, and that's I will say that's the one nice thing about social media is it makes that aspect of the world a lot smaller. So when it's a
very, very small world.
Well, and when you get to meet them in person, you actually have something that you can kind of talk about in common, because you kind of see each other a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But I would love to be able to travel to someplace and compete. I mean, I've loved that experience just once.
One thing, let me kind of bounce around here. One thing, you mentioned the Arnold.
Uh-huh.
I don't care what anyone says. I love the Arnold. It is, to me, is the ultimate strength athlete family reunion. Yeah. I'll work for a bunch of different groups there at it and stuff, but I just love it. To get to see so many friends and people we've met over the years at one place.
Yeah.
To me, nothing's better.
Well, and we've been going for a number of years, and it started out because I knew a lot of the bodybuilding base, and had, started to make friends through that over the years. Now it's totally different for me because we're more into the strongman and supporting the Highland and the other strength sports. But now it's just like I can't go anywhere in the Arnold without seeing somebody I know. And I'm like you, I do not like the crowd on Saturday. I got
that's
over.
That's rough, man. That's rough.
I got over walking through that a long time ago. But yeah.
Yeah, that part I'm over. But the fact that so many, like